And we're back. It's been a while, I know, but we're back with Inside Sports Fantasy Football. It's Gerald Glassford bringing you some great fantasy football coverage and the NFL from ISFF. Also, as well, I host the Pop Culture Cosmos and, of course, Lakers Fast Break, Lakers Latest for the Fan Arc Network, and more. So go ahead and check out all my stuff. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe today to get the latest notifications of when we go live with the latest ISFF or other great shows indeed. And if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, make sure you go ahead, give us that 5-star review as well. But it wouldn't be an Inside Sports Fantasy Football without my good friend indeed. He is back, he has returned, he is well rested and ready to talk some pigskin. It is my good friend indeed. It is Chris Lardieri. What's up, man?
Gerald, great to be back. It's been almost 2 months since the Super Bowl, so glad we could reunite for a post NFL free agency show.
I know you and I have been itching to talk. I know that our schedules are now aligned for right now, so I thought we'd go ahead and do it. But first, I have a thank you for you because this past week we celebrated the 500th episode, aka 500 consecutive weeks of the Pop Culture Cosmos. And I thanked a ton of people on the air, but I wanted to thank you personally because I knew I was going to talk to you. So I wanted to thank you for all the stuff that you've done because the Pop Culture Cosmos has aired many episodes over the years of Inside Sports Fantasy Football. And before we even started this show, that's where a lot of the fantasy football content originated, was on that show. So from the bottom of my heart, man, I just wanted to go ahead and say thank you for you and shout out to Charles Smith Jr. as well, but obviously you for sticking with me all these years and being a part of what we do at the Cosmos and of course ISFF as well.
You're welcome, Gerald, and thank you for the opportunity. I know Charles and I did Inside Sports Football Talk back in the day. You were kind enough to has us as a guest multiple times on Pop Culture Cosmos, and one thing worked out into another. Charles gave up his podcasting career, and we brainstormed and said, "Let's do a fantasy football show." And here we are. What, like probably 8 years later, I believe.
Something like that. Yeah. I miss Charles. I miss his insight, but I hope he's doing well. I see him on social media chastising his good friend Josh Peterson, my co-host on the Cosmos, from time to time. So I know that he is alive and well. And usually when I see him, he has some sort of gourmet food in his hand. So yes, things I think are okay for him. But yeah, it was always good to have him on. But obviously, it's been great to have you on and your son at times as well. So again, from the bottom of my heart, I wanted to go ahead and say thank you to you for everything that you've done for us at the Cosmos. We feel all celebratory this week because of hitting 500 weeks. It's a great number. Later this year, we'll hit 10 years of the Cosmos, so I'm looking for that as
Wow.
well. But I will say for now, we're looking forward to what's coming up here in just a matter of days. We are in April now, and the NFL draft is around the corner. But first, it's the first period of time where teams can really start to correct their weaknesses, fix their problems, get players maybe they weren't expected to get. And because of the loopholes and the salary cap issues and non guarantees that are guarantees that aren't guarantees, and the way that they just have all this monopoly money that, okay, I'm going to give you this type of contract, but only a certain percentage is guaranteed and all that good stuff. By way of all that, or people just say, teams just saying, you know what, we're just gonna let you go and just eat the money. By way of all that, we have seen a influx of people, players changing teams. Who are the winners of NFL free agency? Let's start with the good for people that want to hear out there. Who really benefited from this previous NFL free agency period?
In my opinion, there are a few clear winners, one of which, not so much a free agency move, even though it was. They were the beneficiaries of the Kansas City Chiefs looking to make cap room for one of their inevitable moves. But they traded Trent McDuffie, one of the top young cornerbacks in the league, to the Rams. The Rams have two first round picks this year because they absolutely fleeced the Falcons in last year's draft. So They traded their latter one towards the bottom of the first round for McDuffie, extended him like they always seem to do with their creative capology or however they do it. And I think that really bolsters their defense. Rams were couple plays, couple stops away from going to, and in my opinion, would have won the Super Bowl over the Patriots. So I really like that move a lot. Tangential to that, I wasn't sure what the Chiefs are trying to do there, but it now makes sense. They went out and signed Super Bowl MVP Kenneth Walker from the Seahawks. People say, why would you give a running back that much money? Well, the Seahawks need to re-sign JSN. I kind of, I get it, but giving up a running back that young for him when Zach Charbonnet, who's behind him, is often injured worries me. But I think the Chiefs made a good move. They can't seem to solidify that running back position. Walker's 25 years old. He's proven. I think that's an excellent move, and Patrick Mahomes definitely has to be happy. And then in kind of a twist and turn free agency move that I like, the Baltimore Ravens got Trey Hendrickson away from their AFC North Division rival Cincinnati Bengals, but not before trading for Raiders D end Max Crosby, then saying he failed the physical, voiding that, and then turning around the next morning and signing Hendrickson. So um, I know with a new coach in Baltimore, it's defensive minded. I'm sure they're happy to have Hendrickson on that line and not have to face him twice a year. So I think those are three of the winners that stand out to me.
I agree with you on that. And then here in Las Vegas with the Raiders, they did get some help for a supposed pick of a certain quarterback in Fernando Mendoza, who actually had his a draft day today as far as being able to showcase his skills in front of an audience. And I will go ahead and touch on that in our NFL draft preview. But in anticipation of that, there was a lot that the Raiders need to fix, but I think they're off to a decent start, despite the fact that their trade that they made in all the Lakers Charlotte Hornets style got rescinded and returned back to sender for Max Crosby, who awkward. He already said goodbye, already left on bad terms with the Raiders front office, but he's now back and okay, awkward heading into training camp if that happens.
Yeah, maybe Tom Brady can smooth it over since he's running everything over there, right?
That's true, but he's too busy comparing the WWE to cute and while they're playing flag football everywhere. So yeah, that's
Mm,
just absolutely awesome. There you go.
mm. Yeah. Well, he's got games to announce too. He can't do everything.
But then again, we're now on a stage in 2026 where flag football they're trying to push on us as far as actual watchable content, and also golf is trying to push arenas with people watching simulated golf, like you can go to the golf shop and do and see Tiger Woods do that before he rolled over his car. So again, that is considered primetime ESPN entertainment, flag football and simulated golf right now. What's next? Marbles? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't mind people who play video games, but I just don't see it as a spectator sport. But I guess that's a route we're going these days.
Well, I mean, Twitch. It'd be fine for Twitch. Yeah, there.
Yeah,
That's true.
not not ESPN programming. I mean, come on, they gotta find more hot take shows to repurpose, right?
No, that's true. But I wanted to ask your thoughts on the Raiders. Again, as a team that needs a lot of help, and I mean a lot of help. I think at least this was a good start. But again, Max Crosby coming back to the team. How awkward a situation does that create?
It's got to be extremely awkward, and have some friends who are Raider fans, and they were asking me, well, what happens now with the cap? They went out and signed Tyler Linderbaum, the former Ravens center. Nice move for the Raiders. As a Giants fan, I'm definitely not happy about that. I was hoping he'd reunite with John Harbaugh, but yeah, I don't exactly know the answer to that. Is Crosby still gonna be on the trading block? Do they release him? Not quite sure, but the Ravens fleeced the Raiders to say the least. But I feel like they're heading in the right direction with Clint Kubiak. Will basically all the chips will be in on Fernando Mendoza next season in Vegas.
And again, I know what he did at a college level, but as we've seen with a lot of these high draft choices, although Caleb Williams started to prove a lot of people wrong for a number one draft choice, I still think if you threw the right package, that's what I would go with instead of like, like the one that was rumored with Hebert and a big package of draft picks to the Raiders. If you're a team like the Raiders and you have so much you need to build upon, I really would want to go ahead with that, something like that instead.
Yeah, I would think so too. I don't know if Mendoza is the franchise quarterback that everyone thought Caleb Williams would be. Jury's still out. He kind of came out of nowhere this year. I don't think he was at or near the top of anyone's draft board this the beginning of the last college season. So jury's still out. But yeah, if you've got that pick, especially now, get that draft capital. I One kind of underrated move that I realized happened last year, and someone brought up, is the Browns trading down with the Jaguars trading up with the Browns so they could get Travis Hunter. Now his season was abbreviated due to an injury. We'll see what kind of NFL player he is. But Browns have some draft picks the following year. And if you ask me, I know every year is supposed to be the next greatest QB class, but all signs point to next year's draft class of quarterbacks, including the oft mentioned Arch Manning, as being substantially better than this one. So if you're not sold on Mendoza, why not trade out? Dare I say this, like an NBA team, tank this season and hope you land in the top five next year.
What do you see about as far as some of the other moves that were made out there? Again, the state of Florida with Tampa Bay and Miami had some interesting things, and Jacksonville as well, as far as the movements that were made there. But the one thing I wanted to ask you, because out is Tua, in is Malik Willis, who was playing behind Jordan Love, and now you've given him a $45 million guaranteed, again, the monopoly money here, $67.5 million contract to be the starting quarterback. I'm not sure I would have committed that kind of money to someone who's only started 3 games.
Yeah, not entirely sold on that. I think he was a nice backup quarterback. Even in Green Bay, we saw that last year. But if you are going all in on him, which A, I don't agree with, but B, why are you trading, then turning around trading Jaden Waddle, and then really having zero weapons around him? Rumors Tyreek Hill might be on his way out. So if you really are tanking, why don't you do, and I can't believe I'm saying this, Gerald, do what the Jets did, trade for Geno Smith, throw some accolades his way, and subliminally or not so subliminally, tell your fans we're tanking next year for a quarterback. Just hit the reset button.
I think that's what they should have done. And then, a Kane, maybe move him as well to get some really high draft picks. But okay. All right. It is what it is there. But one team that is looking really up, as far as I wanted to go ahead and talk about, are the 49ers. And I know they lost a lot of their receivers in the offseason, some of which was designed and planned because they wanted to get certain individual receiver out of the way and out of the picture, who was not really happening at all. But they have replaced so far, leading up to the draft, the wide receiver position with some veteran talent and Mike Evans, Christian Kirk, among others. How high are you on the 49ers moves? Because a lot of people are thinking, like you talked about with the Rams being maybe a step up above everybody else in this off season. I'm not sure the 49ers didn't do too badly themselves.
They didn't. My problem with it is that while Evans is an excellent receiver, has had a great career, he's apt to not finish a season. He's injury
Mm.
prone. And Kirk's bounced around. Maybe they see some upside with him, some value there. But I don't feel all in all that they've upgraded net the wide receiver position, considering, I know the Broncos gave up a lot for Waddle, but clearly he was available in trade. Alec Pierce was out there in free agency. Any number of receivers, Rashid Shaheed, who the Seahawks ended up keeping. I feel like there are better options. And while I was high on the 49ers last year, they just had the injury bug, unfortunately. I'm not quite sure they've got enough weapons around Purdy and McCaffrey at the receiver position. And George Kittle, too, going out in the playoffs with an injury. Who knows if he's back 100% next year?
We'll have to see what happens, but I am interested in seeing some of these teams, and because of the fact that the moves they made increase the likelihood of again another fight at the top, and to see if there's going to be a team that's going to upend Seattle as far as the concern, which I think there very may well be. But the big surprise, I guess, is that the Super Bowl MVP is not going to be back defending the Super Bowl on the Seattle Seahawks. He's going to be on a revamped, let's give it one more try in Kansas City instead.
Yeah, I really don't understand that. I know he was asking for a lot of money, and apparently, you've got to re-sign JSN. I get that, but at the end of the day, they thought Shaheed was a more important piece than Walker was. And again, if Charbonnet, I know he got hurt, is your guy, that's a big risk because he's coming off a knee injury. He's never been an every down back. While I like his talent, that would worry me. Now, maybe they're going to look in the draft to pick a running back at the end of one of the rounds, wherever they pick. But yeah, just on paper right now, I'm not quite sure why the Seahawks did it. But that said, John Schneider knows what he's doing, and he's built his team through the draft. And I've got to give him faith for that.
Well, there you have it, guys. If you have any thoughts on the winners and losers in NFL free agency, please let us know right here on Inside Sports Fantasy Football in the comments below, or on isfantasyfootball at yahoo.com. Well, my friend, there's still a little bit more to talk about on today's show to get you prepped, because I want to hear your thoughts leading into the draft, my friend. So, with that, uh, it Fernando Mendoza. I mean, there's not a bevy of quarterbacks being thought of in the first round, which is kind of concerning because the fact he is the only one right now in many drafts, mock drafts, being considered in the first round. Your thoughts, again, a little bit more on Mendoza. I'm just, if I'm the Raiders, I'm not sure I love it. But again, if a package comes my way, I would strongly consider it. I think this team is just, if you put Mendoza out there, even if he is the real deal, will he be able to stay upright on a team that, again, despite its positive moves and free agency, still has a long way to go?
Yeah, they do, and that's why I would think, unless it was a generational talent, just a real standout, an Andrew Luck type, etc. I say you trade out of that. I know the Titans last year drafted Cam Ward. Jury's definitely still out on him, but I would have said the same thing last year. Don't see Ward as a slam dunk 10-year minimum NFL starting quarterback. Apparently, the Raiders feel differently. I think they were really wowed by his tape, as they call it, and his performance in the playoffs and the national championship. Don't get me wrong, I think he can be an NFL starting quarterback, but like you said, when you're in that much disarray, you need picks to rebuild, and apparently the Raiders don't think so.
Again, I think if it was a deep draft in with quarterbacks, I would say okay, there's going to be a lot of individual teams looking for quarterbacks. So, okay, that's fine. You'd lean in that direction. But yeah, since he's the only one projected to go in the first round, I find that a little concerning indeed. But again, it is Fernando Mendoza right now, picked at the number one in most mock drafts. In fact, virtually all mock drafts at this point in time for the Raiders. Who do you have as far as for the Jets? Jets, Jets, the Cardinals, the Titans, and to finish out the five, the bottom five, or the top five, how you would look at it in the draft, your New York Giants.
Yeah, I think after Mendoza, there's going to be a run on defense. All those teams you mentioned definitely need that help on that side of the ball. While there are standout offensive players projected high in the draft, I just think the value comes at DN, D line, etc. I know there's a lot of noise about Jeremiah Love, running back out of Notre Dame, potentially going five to the Giants, even rumblings that Cardinals might take him. And then you get back into that age old debate: do you take a running back that high? The Raiders took Ashton Genty last year. She's top 10. I don't know if it was 6 or 7. And he had no line to run behind. Hopefully, they've addressed that this year. But maybe it makes sense for the Giants. I know they've got Scadaboo, but the way he runs, I don't know if he's going to last the full NFL season. And then you get back to, what happened about 10 years ago when the Giants took Saquon Barkley with no talent around him and they wasted his prime years. So curious to see, but I wouldn't be surprised if someone grabs Love in the top 5 because he clearly looks like he's the top running back on the board.
And again, you have another situation where the running backs in a league still primarily kind of, maybe staying away or shying away that high at running backs. You don't have that many running backs even thought of in that context in the first round. It's another scary proposition, my friend, when you prop up these skill position players like quarterback and running back, and there's nobody right below them. There's no other alternatives. It's kind of makes me nervous when you think about it as far as Jeremiah Love and Fernando Mendoza.
Yeah, if he is going to go in the first round, it's got to be a team that maybe had an off year. They might be able to rebuild on the fly, like the Patriots did this past season. I know people point to the Giants and Titans as two of those teams with new coaching staffs and free agency and retooling. So maybe that makes sense. But yeah, if you're the New York Jets taking Jeremiah Love, I don't think that makes a lot of sense.
No, but there are a lot of edge rushers, and that's what I've seen at the top of the draft, as far as a lot of interest. And I see a lot of them floating around from Reese at Ohio State to also Bain in Miami and Bailey in Texas Tech among the three top edge rushers that are out there. Again, pretty good size among all of them. I know as far as for what they can do, you're also talking about the type of speed that they can carry as well. So let me know your thoughts. David Bailey of the three, it seems to be the best uh, guy that's pressuring the quarterback. But again, Reese looks like the one that seems to be thought of in the highest realm.
Yeah, that's what the chalk seems to be right now. I haven't watched a ton of those their games, but from what I saw in the playoffs, they both look like they're NFL ready. I'm guessing you can't go wrong, but I'll leave that to the experts. But again, if you're a team in that 2 to 5 range, I know the Giants are pretty loaded at D line, but any of those other teams you mentioned, I think could would be wise to take either of them. Let's face it, the most important positions in football these days are D lines up there with quarterback, left tackle, cornerback. So that's how you build your team on that side of the ball.
It is. And obviously, pressuring the quarterback is vital. And if they have that kind of pressure and get those high end edge rushers, that'll be very interesting to see. I know that Reese also can double as a linebacker when because he's got so much speed for a guy that size from what I've seen. So I can definitely understand it. But who else do you see in that top 10? Or actually, you know what? Since you're such a huge Giants fan, who do you want them to go ahead and pick? If they pick that individual, who would make you the happiest and who would make you the oh, here go the Giants again, as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, it's hard to say because I see the logic in Love, but I just don't know if you want to pick him at 5. There are, I think the Giants are, like I said, they're loaded on that defensive side of the ball, but you can't go wrong picking another D tackle. They're going to need some help in the secondary. Um, honestly, I know there's talk that Miami's Francis Malugoa, I'm gonna botch his name, is the clear choice at tackle this high in the draft. If he is, maybe you go with him just because the Giants continually try to address their offensive line. It never seems to work out. See Evan Neal, who I can't believe they kept. But that's what you're gonna need for Jackson Dart, Scadaboo. If Dart's gonna get the ball to Neighbors and free agent signing Isaiah Likely at tight end. He's got to have time to throw. So that's my gut. I've given up trying to figure out what the Giants are going to do in the draft. I was happy that they got Neighbors 2 years ago, but again, I hope they're not wasting his best years, and he's already blown out his knee once.
That's true. Right now, when I look at Tankathon, they're projecting Sonny Styles at fifth. Tall for a linebacker at 6'5". That's the thing that stuck out to me for the Ohio State team. Um, Not really much of a pressure guy, which kind of concerns me when you draft a linebacker that high that he really didn't pressure the quarterback very much. But and then, yeah, just I, with Sonny Styles, I'm not sure if he excites a lot of the fans if he got picked by the New York Giants.
Yeah, it's not like he's a Micah Parsons who can kind of be that hybrid, coming into the NFL linebacker, edge rusher role. All I've read about him says that too. But who knows? Who knows what the Giants will do? I know John Harbaugh is essentially the GM, unnamed at this point in time, but from what we can tell, Joe Shane's still the general manager and still has the title. So I don't know if he's going to defer to Harbaugh this draft. If he's not, but if it is Shane's pick, I have little or no faith in him.
Is there anyone else to look out for in the draft? Anything that or any individual that you see is, maybe a little bit under the radar that you think that should be getting some notice come draft night?
Apparently, since there's such a thin quarterback class, Alabama's Ty Simpson is moving up the draft board and getting a lot of hype, and people are trying to say he could be this year's Tyler Shuck. But Tyler Shuck had the right coach with Kellen Moore down in New Orleans. He was not picked at or near the top of the draft class. Yeah, I know he was picked high for what people thought he should be picked, but I just think there's a risk there with him. He doesn't have a lot of starts in college, and I immediately have flashbacks to Anthony Richardson. I don't know if he'll pan out or not. I mean, playing at Alabama is definitely prepping you for the NFL, but I do think that's a compelling story that once Mendoza goes, which team's going to take a chance on Simpson? Because it sounds like he's going to be a first rounder, given the lack of depth in this year's draft.
You think even though he's still listed in some charts as or halfway through round two type of guy that somebody might at the back end of the first round try to reach on him?
They possibly could because at the back end of the first round, you've got playoff teams, or you've got playoff teams looking to just acquire some more picks, and a team that really doesn't have a shot at getting him might come up from the second. So hard to say. Normally I would think like the Dolphins would be a candidate to trade up even for Mendoza, but that all went out the window with Malik Willis. So hard to say who that could be. And then two, like I don't know if they'll do it this year, but I'm always curious to see if Sean McVay looks to take a flyer on a quarterback to replace Matthew Stafford, let him sit for a year and be an understudy, and then he's prepped for the next go round once Stafford retires.
Well, we'll see what happens, my friend. But it's obviously just going to be very interesting come draft night. Who makes the moves? Who doesn't? But before we head on out, my friend, you are providing, as always, some great insight. Any last thoughts? And when would you like to get back together right here on the show once again?
Yeah, I think we need to do a post draft show analysis if you're up for it. I
Of
appreciate it.
course.
I'm not going to do any mock drafts or sell you a book before the draft, so let's do it after. But there are a couple things that stood out to me in terms of the loser side, and you hit on one of them: the Jaguars letting Devin Lloyd and Travis Etienne walk in free agency. But the one that astounded me the most when I saw this, and being a Giants fan, you shouldn't be surprised by this comment, but the Indianapolis Colts, they didn't tag Pierce. I ended up paying an arm and a leg for him to keep him on the open market. But they did tag Daniel Jones, whose agents have to go down as one of the greatest in professional sports history. Uh, Again, he's got another, I think, 40 million per guaranteed money contract, another tag. Whether you think Daniel Jones and his nice stretch he had to the first, half to two-thirds of the season last year, and they think that he's turned a corner and they can make him a bona fide starting NFL quarterback, he got hurt yet again. So even if you love Daniel Jones, I have nothing against him. I feel bad for what happened to him in his time in New York. The guy's injury prone. I can't believe that his agents conned the Colts out of that much money. So that's another team that you can put in the head scratcher. Worries me category for NFL free agency.
Well, we'll see what happens, my friend, and absolutely would love to, get back on the show with you to go ahead and talk about what happened in this year's NFL draft. So looking forward to that so we can get people prepped up for their fantasy football seasons coming before you know it. Once again, I know that they've already talked about as far as the NFL is concerned, all the stuff that's going awry as far as the free agency, who went here, who went there. People are still talking about it for their teams coming up here in the not too distant future. And yeah, definitely looking forward to seeing what's going to happen with, of course, the NFL draft and Hard Knocks. It's funny, they're already talking about Hard Knocks and who's going to be hard knocking later this year.
Yeah, it looks like the Seahawks, and I'm sure I'll watch one episode like I usually do and zone out. But yeah, we're getting there. And then I saw something recently that ESPN will not be having any Monday Night Football doubleheaders, which I think is a plus. So yeah, the news cycles ever continuing in the NFL.
That it is, my friend. That it is indeed. And we'll make sure we follow it for everyone out there. And especially after the draft, come back on and see who won and lost. Early projections in the NFL draft, indeed. So for Chris Lardieri, it's me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching, listening. Truly appreciate it. Make sure you like and subscribe, and also as well share the love by giving that 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. Indeed. So thank you again for joining us, and we'll be back after the NFL draft right here for Inside Sports Fantasy Football.